How's it going, everyone? We're here to check out this monthly update for Rust, and it brings us the Industrial Revolution. That's right, we've got the Industrial Update on hand, and, well, what is that really? What does it entail for us? And basically, it's a way to automate quite a few things in Rust. So before we get into that, there are a few other things that have changed, and a few things that some people might be sad or angry about. And, well, the stretched screen resolution is no longer there. And the Facepunch devs did not remove it on purpose to spite anyone or anything like that. It just isn't compatible with the new version of Unity that they updated to. So until that gets fixed, or if it ever does, it's just not going to be an option for the game anymore. So don't blame Facepunch, blame Unity, and if you can be polite, you can go onto Unity and say, hey, is this something you guys can pay attention to? Because that's kind of how Unity works. The more people that bother them on a certain subject, the more attention it gets. So that's something positive you could do to get that fixed, if that so be the kind of way you want to go with it. Otherwise, Happus is also gone as of this update. The dev team said they do not have a map maker on the team, and as being a smaller dev team, being able to focus on things like performance and adding more content to the game and so forth, they just don't have the dedication to make the map the way it should be. It was very far behind. Of course, it's been released to the public, where the public can go ahead and update it and change it however they may like, if the mapping tools that are available, but Facepunch will no longer be keeping the official version of it, therefore it is officially gone. So there it is. If you see Happus, it is one of the community-made ones. Also, they're working quite a bit on performance. You can check it out. There's a huge amount of like infographics and so forth on the dev blog itself, which I have linked down in the description below. And that right there gets all the way down to the detail of how certain graphics cards are performing with Rust and everything. So maybe if you're having some problems, you can take a look at those. They might help you. Who knows, one way or another, they're actually very interesting to look at, and it's some pretty interesting data. They've also been working on the water I/O system to make performance for anything that works with, the water pipes just run a lot better on the server. And in general, they've been working on a lot of server performance. There are quite a few changes, which you can see at the end of the dev blog, which are working there. One other small change before we get to other things that is quite important, code locks have changed, that when you put them on, the first option is now change lock code, which is just so much more convenient. If you're trying to put a code lock on quickly while you're being raided, or if someone's around, it is just a very nice thing. And once you do actually get that done, you'll see its defaults to open and unlock is down here. So there you go. That's just a nice little one, but worth mentioning. So, one way or another, let's jump into the industrial update. It brings us some pretty new items that pop in here. First thing up, we've got the pipe tool. And this is going to be your new tool, basically, just like the hammer or the wire tool or the pipe tool. By pipe tool, I mean the hose tool, sorry. So now we've got a pipe tool, hose tool, hammer, and wire tool. So one way or another, works pretty much the same like the others. We'll show you here shortly. Then we also have another new item, the electric furnace. It uses 3 power, and this sucker here just doesn't require wood, so you can go ahead and just smelt away, and it is a bit faster, but you don't get any charcoal in the output. So you still do need charcoal for gunpowder, but I mean, most people usually end up with an overabundance once they get everything set up, so hey, there you go. Then we've got everything that makes the industrial system work. You've got the storage adapter, the conveyor, the crafter, the splitter, and the combiner. So we'll go ahead and show how each one of those items works, of course. One thing I did want to show, the electric furnace is very small. So small so far that you can actually go ahead and place it here if you angle your boxes right. Yeah, I didn't, but you can actually get one in between 2 large boxes and or in front, ending up with quite a few furnaces in a typical kind of loot room configuration. So yeah, this is definitely a really cool thing, and it was asked on Twitter if this is going to change or anything, and Alistair said no, they are meant to be this small for convenience. So there you go. They are kind of expensive on the tech tree to get to them. So if you go ahead and if we can open up the tech tree and we pop on over here, you'll see the electric furnace is on tier 2 off of the battery, of course, down the generator tree. And it'll cost you a total of 395 scrap to get to it. So, it's not entirely cheap. And then when it comes to all the actual industrial pieces, those we can go ahead and take a look at in the tier 1. Alright, and it is actually a little further down from the furnace. You go to large battery, then to industrial crafter, so that is a jump from 395 to 345, so you basically need another 75 each to get there. So yeah, there you go. Definitely a little bit costly, but this is kind of more an end thing. I mean, you're not going to be doing this in your 2x2 most likely, but I mean, some people do, so don't take that as a challenge. I'm sure that there's people out there that'll figure out some really cool systems. Some stuff has been nerfed, but I've seen some amazing stuff that people were playing around with this on aux and staging, etc. So what does this system work with? Well, you've got the tool cupboard. So the first thing with the tool cupboard, you've got an input spot on the top and then an output spot on the front, should you want to actually do input-output, or you can just do one or the other for input. It's up to you. Some have multiple connections, as you'll see, and then some of those multiple connections have certain purposes. So over here, the small box has one connection, large box has four, one on each end, then one on the front side and one on the top side. And as you can see, it puts it furthest away from the front of the box and then to the left of the front of the box. So that's kind of something to consider when you're placing them. You want to make sure your boxes are rotated the right way if you intend to connect them to the system later and don't want to go in and pick up all that stuff. Then you've got the small furnace with a connection on the top. And then what's really weird is the refinery's connection is on the back. I don't know why. But if you want to, you can rotate the refinery so that it's backwards, so to say, from its normal placement. And then it would be on the front for you, so just that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if that was intended or not. Then the large furnace itself has four connections, one on each of its little branch outs. So that would also then, you can work with all the different inputs, etc. You can, do some pretty interesting systems there. I mean, for instance, you could have stuff piped from inside your base out to the large furnace, and then from the large furnace pipe back into your base, so to say. Then over here we've got the new electric furnace. It has the one side input output there. And then we've got the locker, and this one actually has to do with contextual of where they are put. Each node here corresponds with the three different parts of the locker. So you've got the three different compartments, each one, this is one compartment, this is one compartment, this is one compartment. So if you want to fill the top one, it's going to be the left one and middle and right. So there you go, pretty straightforward on that. Dropbox has one connection right on the top, and vending machine has a connection right on the back. So those are all the things that are compatible with the system so far. Don't know if they plan on adding anything else, but that pretty much covers all of it. I mean, the only thing that you don't really have in this is cooking and anything that has to do with farming. I think it'd be nice to be able to automate farming with this in the future, so maybe that's something they'll do if everyone likes this system and it doesn't bog down servers too much. So yeah, there it is. So how does this system work? Originally, you may have seen some videos where the pipes literally would just go straight through walls. That's not a thing anymore. They have to go through a doorway or a window. So as you'll see here, I have them going through a window from that box to that box. And then over here, we have it going through a doorway. And to actually place them through a doorway, the door has to either be removed or open, and you have to pick up the window to actually put a new pipe through. It's not going to let you go ahead and stick a pipe straight through an actual window. So there are some limitations and some risks to editing your system, like, exposing, leaving a door open, or possibly a window for someone to jump through if you're not there paying attention. So that is kind of a little bit of a risk to it. Makes it a little bit more balanced, I would say, that you can't just literally disappear everything. At least people can follow the doors or windows that your pipes are going through. You can't just stick them through a wall. So before we go ahead and show you kind of how the system all kind of works, we basically understand how everything is here with that, and there's been a change to how blueprints work a little bit. So now that we actually have an auto crafter, it requires a blueprint of an item to work. So, well, what about items that don't normally have blueprints, like gunpowder, for instance? Well, now if you actually put in a research bench, you'll notice it has a cost and a little message for you, and it says this item's a default blueprint and does not need to be researched. This blueprint can be used in an industrial crafter. So, it's just a little warning there. I know a lot of people don't read, so I'm sure we'll see how that goes. But one way or another, this is what you would do. And I'm just going to show you kind of a quick little setup of basically how you would make an automatic gunpowder crafting setup. Alright, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to try to explain how each of these different items work while showing you them while setting up a system to automatically make and store our farm and gunpowder, okay? So this is basically going to take our sulfur from our farm and turn it into gunpowder and automatically store it, and then it's going to take the stone and the metal and put it into a box to do elsewhere with. And of course you could run that into another furnace, etc. But we're just going to show one setup, not multi setups, because then this video could go forever. So first off, we've got the new pipe wrench here, and the pipe tool here works just like the other ones. A left click does pretty much nothing right now, but if you go ahead and hold R down, you can change the color. You've got 4 colors default, which is a gray, yellow, blue, and red. And yeah, once you've got your interactions, the left and right click are going to be, you know, interacting with the actual system itself, which we'll show you here shortly. And then, of course, all this stuff works with electricity, so you're going to need a power source and so forth. I already set up just a generator, and we have a power source right here. This is just to turn on the actual furnaces themselves. So yeah, we're going to get everything from our Dropbox into the storage. So first things up, let's just say we deposited all this farm for the day in here. Boom. You know, I don't want to sit here and make you guys watch me put it through there one stack at a time. So let's get all of our actual connections started. So the first thing you need to do really is set up your storage adapters. So we're going to need one on here. We're going to need 2 on here, 1 on each furnace, and then we need 1 on each of these boxes for our purposes today. So there we go. We've got all that set up. So now all of these are functional within the industrial system. Now we actually need to make them work. So the first thing we can do is we can go ahead and put down our actual industrial crafter, which is over here. And to tell it what to do, it's going to be making a gunpowder blueprint for you. And whatever you need to craft has to be connected to the appropriate tier. So you can do gunpowder on tier 1, 2, or 3, but you can't do rockets on a tier 2, even if you put the blueprint in there. So do keep that in mind. You will need a tier 3 to make tier 3, tier 2 to make tier 2, etc. You can, however, set up a system where you can change out blueprints, which we'll get to in a second. So let's look at the electrical connections. First off, you've got a turn off or turn on, and then you've got your power in, and then there's a toggle. So there's all the electrical connections we've got for the industrial crafter. Then if you go ahead to the pipes, you've got an in, an out, and then here's how you would do the blueprint switching. You've got a blueprint in and out as well. So we're not going to mess with that today. It's a more complicated system, but that is something that you can do as an option there, which is quite nice. So there you have that. And as you'll see, the industrial actual adapters just have the in and out. Nothing special, do not require electricity themselves, which is why I didn't mention that. So our next thing we're going to be doing is setting up our conveyor. And the way a conveyor works is pretty simple. It's basically what pulls stuff from one place to another. And I say pool because honestly, that's the easiest way to kind of think of it. So first of all, we're going to need to get what's in here out of here and into here. So we can go ahead and set up our first conveyor. So we're going to go ahead and pop it in there. And we're simply just going to say, well, it comes out of there, goes into here, and then goes into there. But do we want everything that comes out of here into this box? And the answer is yes, so we don't have to change the item filter for this situation. All right. So then we're going to need another conveyor. This one's going to pull the sulfur and charcoal, sulfur and wood to make cooked sulfur and charcoal. Then we need another conveyor, and this one's just going to pull all of the stuff out of the box that we don't need and store it for us. So we're going to place that one right here. So this is going to connect into here, and then this is going to connect into here. Pretty simple. Now we are going to have to mess with filters because they have specific things they need to do. So if we go into here, we're going to say, well, this should pull stone because we don't need it to make gunpowder, and then we don't need metal, and we don't need qual. There you go. Sometimes you got to type a little more because there's a lot of items. And there we go. So boom, it's filter set. Now we need to set the filter for the furnaces. So what we want to pull is sulfur ore and wood. So there we go. So now this will only pull those items. So let's go ahead and finish our connection here. This one is nice and easy. We're just gonna drag a pipe all the way down here, and boom, and then we crouch on into here, and there. That is literally done. That's all we had to do with that one, which is quite nice. So next, we're going to go ahead and do our next little connection here. It's going to go from here into the furnaces, but we have 2 furnaces, right? So that's where the splitter comes in. So the splitter here, we'll go ahead and place it down, and as you can see, the splitter has 3 outs and 1 in. It doesn't require electricity, which is quite nice. So we're going to go ahead and connect it. There it is. And then we can go ahead and have its outs go into here and here. So now we have it set up to where stuff is going in to our furnaces. But now we're going to need to set up a way to get it out. So here comes the combiner, because we want to take everything out of both furnaces and send it to this crafter, right? So you can actually go ahead and rotate these with R, like some other of the rotatable deployables. I'm just sticking this on the floor. They can go on the ceilings, they can go on the walls, etc. So that is something else, you know, if you want to change it up. And then we're going to need another conveyor. This conveyor is going to go ahead and pull everything out of here and put it in to our industrial crafter. So let's go ahead and we're going to go, whoop, let's go ahead and change our color for this one. We're going to go yellow is out, boom, and boom, there's our out. And it goes right into our industrial crafter. Now, if we leave this without a filter, it's going to literally pull everything out of there, including your wood and ore before it smelts. So we want to set this to just sulfur, cooked, and charcoal. There you go. Those are the only 2 things we want to come out of there. Then we can go ahead and finish our system. Boom, into the industrial crafter. Perfect, so now it's going to feed that, but now we need to pull it out of the industrial crafter and into our box. So you can make this loot room however far away you want, as long as you have the doorways to pass the pipes through. And, you know, I just put it next to it for convenience here. And we have it doing that. And boom. But we must put another filter here because it will pull out the sulfur and charcoal before it is crafted. So gunpowder, add, apply. All right, so we're almost done. Now we just need to provide electricity to everything. And the nice thing is the conveyor actually has a power in and a pass through, which is beautiful. It also has a turn on and off. And then down here you have a filter fail and a filter pass. And so basically, if you want to set up some complicated systems, like is pass through allowed with certain things, or if a certain one fails, should it then send a signal from this one failing to another one to trigger that to move the loot instead? So like a backup system. There's a lot of different things you can do with this. Again, it's much more complicated, so we're not going to get into the details too bad there. But let's go ahead and provide our electricity. So we're going to go ahead and start on over here. And then we got a little pass through on down, and we're not going to make the wires as beautiful as could be, but hey, there we go. And there's no pass-through on the crafter, so you probably want to either have its own power or make it last in your little circle, like I am here. So there's that, and then we can take our pass-through back to here and power in. All right, so everything should have power, everything should be hooked up. And as you see when you have the wrench in your hand, you can see the direction that the pipes are going, just like you can with electricity is the direction that the wire flow is. So let's go ahead and send some power, and you'll see that they still need to all be turned on. So what you could do is you could set up a whole, toggle system, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to manually turn them on here. So boom, 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 and boom. So those should all be ready to go, and you can already hear it going. They do make a bit of a noise. And you can actually see what it's processing and that it's processing, which is nice. And then whenever these receive or send an item, they flash either green or red. Green for receiving, red for sending. So you can see stuff is now going into here and then being sent out. You can see that our stone and ore is going into here. And there it is. It's already filling up. Ready to be sent to a furnace or storage for stone, whatever you want to do. And then if we look up here, you'll see our wood and sulfur is transferring. And here it is. It's filling on up in our furnaces, which is quite nice. So we've got this thing sitting here ready to go. all we need to do is light our furnaces. There we go. Again, you can control out all the smart switch, which is nice. And once we work up a little bit of gunpowder and stuff in here, we'll come back and show you the crafting. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look-see in here. So we're going to power it on. See, it makes a bit of a noise. There it goes. Craft and process. And there it is, making our gunpowder for us. And then, as you can see, it will be sending through here. And into our gunpowder box. So there goes one. So there it is, everyone. That's basically a little automated system. You just kind of get the idea of how it all works here. And, well, sound off down in the comment section below how you feel about it. I mean, it's very different for sure. So, one of those things you definitely either will use or won't, kind of like electricity, and it's an add-on to electricity on top of it, so hey, and it's a little bit extra to learn, but I mean, things are pretty straightforward. I think all the pieces kind of make sense, so that's not too bad. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you all think about it, and if you have any cool inventions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'd love to see them. Enjoy your wipe, everyone. Thanks for watching. Stay rusty.